It is 9 o'clock, and it is Wednesday, February 15th. So we moved our show a little bit. This is the first quarter, usually on a Monday, but
It's more like the third quarter now.
yeah. We're a little late, but we had reasons. And that reason being the Kansas City Chiefs are now Super Bowl champions. In fact, I got so excited I forgot to introduce ourselves. I'm Gage Kaler, along with Cade Ricketts and Michael Bosch.
Hola.
So, yeah, let's get to talking about the Super Bowl, boys.
I mean, first of all, before we dive too far into the game, I mean, what a game. Just from a football standpoint, just watching the game, I mean, there's been some bad Super Bowls recently, and I mean, I was happy that it was a good Super Bowl. Especially being a Chiefs fan, you want your team to go out there and just have a good Super Bowl, something people will talk about down the road, and I think this definitely was a good Super Bowl.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, I'm not a Chiefs fan, but like you said, from a football fan perspective, I had no dog in the fight. I was just super excited to see a good game, and it had been, I mean, last year's game was a good one, but it wasn't the shootout that a lot of people expected it to be, just because the Rams' defense was incredible last year. But this year, I thought the defenses did what they could do. Just two great offensive play callers by Nick Sirianni and Andy Reid. So I think just a well played all around game by both teams.
Yeah, honestly, though, watching it, I couldn't tell if it was that good of a game because I was so stressed out.
Oh.
But then everyone said it was an amazing game.
No, I definitely feel on the stressed out part. I mean, being a Chiefs fan definitely makes, when you're a fan of a team and the Super Bowl, it changes the whole view of the Super Bowl. It's not a party; it's a stress fest. If anything, I mean,
I was not watching any commercials.
I mean, you see one of those videos like top 10 commercials, and I'm like, I don't remember any of these. Like, what was I doing? Probably pacing back and forth in the living room. So,
yeah, and a heck of a performance by Pat Mahomes. Definitely just helps out his legacy. I already have him as a top 10 quarterback. Was 21 for 27 on the day with 182 through the air with 3 touchdowns and had 44 on the ground, including a 26-yard run. That was on third down, I believe.
that run was something, especially the ankle injury and all one leg. He definitely put it all out there.
Yeah, for sure.
On top of that Mahomes performance, though, you got Jalen Hurts on the other side. And, I mean, who do you guys think played a better game? Jalen Hurts went 27 for 38, 304 passing yards, 1 touchdown. But on the rushing side, 15 for 70 and 3 rushing touchdowns, tying only Terrell Davis with 3 touchdowns in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, his performance was incredible, especially by a quarterback to have those rushing numbers in a Super Bowl. I wasn't 100% on the Jalen Hurts hype train, but after this performance in a big-time game, and he played well all postseason, but this game especially, I believe, potentially elevated him to a top 5 quarterback.
Okay, same boat as you. I was thinking the same thing. Michael, your thoughts on it? Top 5, top 10? What do you feel after that performance?
My top 5 would be Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Hurts, and Herbert, probably, then Lamar 6th. So
he's not even top 6. Okay. No, I agree with you, Gage. He just was impressive. And, I mean, watching it, obviously cheering against him, not wanting him to succeed. People talk about, he just ran the ball really well. Some of those throws, I mean, he was threading the needle. I mean, especially any Dallas Goedert catch was an absolute perfect throw, where only Dallas Goedert could get it.
And that first touchdown to A.J. Brown was an absolute dime. And a great adjustment by Brown, too.
Oh, yeah.
He did a little juke
Put McDuffie
during his route, too, while the ball was in the air. And that's what really impressed me was his move while the ball was in the air and that adjustment to get under that ball. But, yeah, just great all-around game by Hurts. And that was my big concern coming into the game was his arm. I wasn't 100% behind that, but ignore the last play. That's just one play. But, yeah.
Real quick on that last play, I feel like people have been making a lot of jokes about that, not throwing it. I think sometimes if you ever just throw a football and you try to actually throw it hard, I think it was just a late release. I think that's all it was. I think that's why it was so short. I think he just let go of it a little bit late. You can kind of tell the way it spiraled down. But
yeah,
impressive performance from both quarterbacks. Obviously, Mahomes didn't have a great first half, wasn't on the field a lot. Second half was almost perfect.
Yep.
Only incomplete pass was a throwaway. So
kind of hard to when you're on the field for 7 minutes.
Yeah, and
it was.
And then people want to talk about Mahomes only throwing for 182 yards. I mean, they had all that momentum. Kadarius Toney's punt return obviously set them up for great success. We can get into that here in a second, but that was a 3-yard drive for a touchdown. There was no yards to be had on that one. So
Yeah, yep. And he made those 182 count also.
exactly.
Big moments.
And he said before the game, he felt like he really pressed it in the last 2 Super Bowls. In one of his interviews, he talked about how he's got a great team around him, and it's not all him. He's got to let his teammates do what they got to do. And I mean, teammates, obviously the Chiefs ran for 158 yards. Who would have thought that the Chiefs would have more rushing yards than the Eagles? Mm-hmm. I think nobody was predicting that. Everyone thought the Eagles that was going to be what they're going to do. They're going to run all over us, but not the case, especially with Isaiah Pacheco going 15 for 76 and a touchdown. And I mean, how can you just not love watching Pacheco run? He runs with so much energy and enthusiasm. It's fun to watch.
Yep. And another thing that really not many people have been talking about, just great performance by the Chiefs' offensive line too. Okay. Absolutely incredible.
Go ahead.
What I was going to say was kind of bringing in both points. For their offense, the Eagles' offense, I think they performed how everyone expected, but their defense just didn't seem like they were fully there. And I kind of felt like I kind of mentioned that last week where I said they hadn't played really the competition that they should have been playing up to this point, and that might be a factor. And I don't know if that was because Chiefs' O-line completely shut them down.
Yeah, and last week it's going to come down to the Eagles' pass rush, and essentially did.
And if it was based on the Eagles' pass rush, definitely that's why the Chiefs won, because it was. I mean, they had plays where they got after Mahomes a little bit, but for the most part, people weren't giving the Chiefs O-line enough credit. I mean, you got to realize they were the number 1 rated pass protection offensive line in the regular season. This wasn't like a bunch of rummies. I get that the Eagles have this amazing pass rush, and I think it's from a standpoint that it's the Eagles' depth, the way they can just rotate guys in and out, and it's almost a Pro Bowler every time you put a guy on the field on the D-line. From a standpoint, a lot of veterans, a lot of wisdom on the D-line, and then you got your 2 young guns and Sweat, and I mean, Reddick's not too young, he's getting up there, but it's a very experienced defensive line, but they also ran up against a very, for the most part, a couple young guns on the Chiefs' O-line, but they picked up some of those pass protection reads and pickups by the offensive line were just so smart. You could tell they studied a lot of their blitzes and some of their misdirections they do from a D-line standpoint, and the Chiefs were there to pick it up most times.
Yeah, but honestly, looking at the numbers, if you looked at the numbers, you would think the Eagles definitely won just off the game Jalen Hurts has. But I think it just came down to, beating the Chiefs. You can't make a mistake. You got to kind of play perfect. And ultimately, that one fumble is what cost them the Super Bowl, looking back at it.
I'm not one dependent on one play, but yeah, that's a big one. I mean, it was definitely a weird one too because it was like Hurts almost was. It looked like he was trying to transfer the ball to his other hand, and I think he was surprised to see that Bolton completely read the play, and he kind of just had that quick second of panic, and the ball just popped right out. His leg kind of hit it too.
It's hard to not make it look like look at one play because they were almost like unstoppable on drives. Every 3rd and 6 would get converted. Every 4th and 1.
Well, every 4th and 1 they got because they played rugby. I mean, that formation is just impressive to watch. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, as the opposing team fan and you're watching that, it's very demoralizing because anytime it's like 3rd and 2 or 4th and 2, it's like, well, they're gonna get it because it's like you almost had to play every down as 1st and like 6. Can't give up 6 yards here.
You throw your hands up in the air. It's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite one was Chris Jones completely jumped over the offensive line, smacked him, had him wrapped up, but he had no legs to plant on, so he's just getting pushed back. I mean, that was funny though.
Yeah. Yep. And if we're going to talk about one play change in the game, you said it earlier, Kadarius Toney's punt return late in the game. And I'm not going to lie, at that point in time, I almost thought, it's going to sound weird, almost thought it was too long of a return because they didn't have any first downs to work with.
Yeah.
They couldn't chew that clock.
No, definitely.
But then the James Bradbury penalty, which was the right call, kind of gave the Chiefs that first down they needed to chew the rest of that clock out.
For sure.
Yeah.
Back on that Kadarius Toney punt, I mean, Pat McAfee did an amazing breakdown of this. He talked about how if you watch your gunners on the outside guys, they're going to go to where the punt's supposed to be located. And if you watch it, they both go left. It looks like the whole team thought the punt was supposed to go left. And then you kind of see that split panic in the defense, the punting team, when it went right. So they're all overcorrecting to go back right. completely making a lane to go left. And Kadarius Toney, being the just evasive, shifty guy that he is going to make one guy miss, hit a cutback. And really, I don't think we saw him in any, maybe for a second top-end speed, but he was patient, very Le'Veon Bellish, just letting his blocks develop in front of him, kind of walking through his blocks, and I mean, getting down to the 5-yard line inevitably. And back onto me not wanting to put one play. That's another play I could say that completely changed this game for the Eagles, and possibly why they lost is setting the Chiefs up on a 1st and goal on the 5-yard line.
Yeah, and it almost, like you said, you could tell everyone was going. It would be to the Eagles, right? The Chiefs left. Is that what you're saying? The Gunners.
Yeah.
Okay, so it almost seemed like you said, everybody thought the punt was going one direction because the only person going left for the Eagles was Cameron Johnson, their punter.
Yep.
Or Aaron Sipos, my bad.
Yeah.
He seemed like he was the only one that knew where that ball was going because
100%.
you just saw him. There's 3 guys in front of him. It was like,
Just
this guy has poor guy has no chance.
Yeah.
But
definitely there was I think had to be some miscommunication on where that punt was supposed to go.
yeah, something didn't seem right. And it shocked me with how well Wiley held up his own against Reddick, too. And then again, we also got to bring up the field. It affected both teams.
Yes.
But, I also think that's part reason why it was so high scoring. Because as an offensive player, you know where you're going, and as a defensive player, you'd have to make that adjustment and make those cutbacks to where you messed up and refill that gap. So that's why I think we got the big shootout we did.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think, back what you said, I mean, 2 speed rushers almost for the Eagles coming off the edge. Their normal set with Graham and Reddick, not talking Ingram switching and running those guys. You got 2 speed rushers. Speed rushers, they're going to try to loop around you as fast as you can. Well, it's hard to loop around somebody as fast as you can when you can't get any kind of traction or footing.
Yeah.
They did a couple cuts to the Eagles sideline, and it's just like this mountain of shoes. Those guys are just going through shoes trying to find any amount of grip. And, I mean, that's sad. You don't want that in the big game.
Yeah. Which someone in class yesterday said that it was some guy. He was not a 90-year-old man that it was his last field. Poor guy.
I heard that it was actually the Chiefs, grounds crew that did it.
Was it? I thought it was some dude I thought it was Oklahoma State's field. They posted it on social media.
I heard it was the Chiefs crew that was maintaining the field.
Oh, maintaining it. They didn't grow the grass.
All I know is the field was very expensive. That's my 2 cents on this whole take. They spent a lot of money to get a very low quality field. It looked like to me.
Yep. But heck of an all around game by both teams. Kansas City just one of those games where you're fortunate to end with the ball last. I feel like. Well, I guess they didn't, but you know what I mean. Essentially last.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
and you got to say hats off to Jarrett McKinnon for
Jarrett McKinnon being a team player, and also hats off to Andy Reid. A big stigma he's had his whole career is this, and I think it's kind of just funny. And there was times the clock management thing, the nub that I always give to Andy Reid. Oh, he's not got good clock management. He doesn't run out the games, but perfect clock management by the Chiefs in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, I think Andy Reid's the real MVP of this game. Just the way that he managed the whole game. His play calling was great.
Let's go back, and I'll give Bieniemy credit too, as he's even came out and said, Bieniemy and Andy Reid, great game plan. I mean, those motion zig routes, what they call those at corn dog, the infamous corn dog play. I feel like corn dog is going to be our jet chip wasp of this Super Bowl. And to go back to the well twice and score on it 2 times is pretty impressive. They realized that the Eagles' defense cheated on motions. The corner would switch to the slot, and the linebacker or the safety would come down and pick up the motion guy to prevent those end-arounds and those jet sweeps, which the Chiefs do use a lot. And in that sense, that's smart because you're going to have a guy already completely cheated over to stop that. Chiefs recognize it from a previous Jaguars game where Doug Peterson tried that on them. I mean, and then you run it. The guy cuts back. The guy's in the middle of the field supposed to be on him. He's wide open on the far side of the field. Did it twice to Kadarius Toney, and then the second time to Sky Moore.
And it worked because in the first half they fully completed the motion, and they were making sure they were following it. And then second half 2 touchdowns off it. So.
Somebody said and I thought it was very funny about how if this was a poker game, Sirianni played his hand in the first half. Andy Reid played his hand in the fourth quarter, and definitely veteran coach move to save those big time plays. And like you said, setting it up the whole game to make sure it's going to be there when you go back to it.
Yeah, and it's hard to make that adjustment with 2 shifty guys and Moore and Toney because they're both punt returners and they're shifty.
Yep.
I'm surprised that being the smart DC that Jonathan Gannon is, they did not make that adjustment to just stay with your man.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's one thing that surprised me from the Eagles is just they never really seem to change or never really seem to stick with the guy that went in motion ever. They always switched off and read it and Chiefs win.
Yep. I mean, the Eagles' defense was supposed to be great. They did not step up in the second half. You can talk about the refs all you want. At the end of the game, I feel like, of course, I'm biased. I feel like 6 penalties to 3 penalties is 9 penalties total. Someone had told me at the beginning of the game, well, you have 9 penalties in the Super Bowl, you think it's going to be a pretty evenly fair played game? I would say yes. 9 penalties is not outrageous, especially with Sheffers and his crew. Previous history with the Chiefs not being the best. Honestly, that was one of my biggest worries coming into this game is like, I really hope this isn't a ref-ruined game, and I'm glad to see that I don't think it was.
Yeah, for sure. So we got to move on here real quick. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs on winning the Super Bowl, and congratulations to you guys as being fans. So on Saturday, I believe, we had the 2023 Hall of Fame inductees, those being Rondé Barber, Darrelle Revis, Joe Thomas, Zach Thomas, Marcus Ware, Chuck Howley, John Klecko, and Ken Riley. Those last 3 were part of the senior class, so we don't really know about them. So let's talk about the players that we got to watch a little bit.
Definitely.
I want to start off with Darrelle Revis. As a Patriots fan, was kind of he was only there for 1 year, but that 1 year was the big Malcolm Butler play at the goal line. It was that year. Watching him play was just absolutely incredible. Just when you have a whole island named after yourself is what the whole slogan is, Revis Island, you know that you're top-tier guy. And it's so weird for cornerbacks because they always have like a 4 to 5 year prime, and then they're pretty much gone. And that's what it was for Darrelle Revis, but his years were so elite that you knew he was going to be first ballot.
You know, me as a Chiefs fan, too, also very happy. Darrelle Revis made the Hall of Fame. He played half a season with the Kansas City Chiefs. But yeah, the former 14th overall pick in the 2007 draft, Revis Island. I mean, probably the best man-to-man coverage corner in my lifetime, if not all time. I mean, like you said, he puts people on an island. Go one-on-one with Darrelle Revis, you're going to have a bad game. It's just simple as that. He's shutting most people down every time. And like you said, that 4 to 5 year prime window, this was much longer than that. I mean, heck of a career for Darrelle Revis. Extremely deserving his first ballot Hall of Fame.
And did he win a Super Bowl with the Chiefs?
He won one with New England.
No, that was the year.
Was he 2018?
The Marcus Mariota, he's the one that tipped it back to Marcus Mariota and ran it in for the touchdown.
Yep.
That's the Darrelle. You guys got Darrelle Revis on the back end of his career.
Darrelle Revis lost us that game. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I was very happy to see Darrelle Revis make it. Probably one of the top 3 best corners of my lifetime, if not, like I said, number 1.
Yeah, it's got to be Sherman, Revis, and heck, I don't know. Revis
there's so many guys that could be in that 3rd spot. I'm not even going to say a name.
Yeah.
I'd have to really think about that.
Yeah. Another one is DeMarcus Ware. Played for the Cowboys for I don't even know how long, and then he ended his career with Denver. Won a Super Bowl with them on that 2015 team.
Let me pick you up really quick. 2005 2013, he was with Dallas. 2014 to 2016, he was with Denver.
Okay. And, that was another one that I was really happy. I thought he was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer last year, and I was absolutely shocked to see that he did not make it. I don't remember who made it ahead of him, but
no, that was a big deal last year, and he deserved to be first ballot. But got in the second time around, not too shabby, is what it is. You're a Hall of Famer at the end of the day. Super deserving of it. Long career, 12 seasons. I mean, former 11th overall pick in the 2005 draft. A lot of first-round draft picks panning out here so far in the Hall of Fame. If you look at a lot of these guys that go in, a lot of them are early first-rounders. So it's what you expect out of the guy. You don't always get it, so it's cool to see these first-rounders when they pan out and have such a successful career like DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah, he had this ridiculous 4-year stretch. Actually, my goodness, from 2005 to 2012, actually 2006 2012, excuse me, had double-digit sacks every season. And had a 20-sack season in there and a 19.5 sack season in there. and used to give Kansas City nightmares whenever he was in Denver, for sure.
Yeah, I could not stand when he was on the Broncos. I mean, that was that team too. It's like I didn't mind DeMarcus Ware. He's a superstar in the NFL. I didn't hate him. You know what I mean? Same thing with Peyton Manning, and now they get DeMarcus Ware and Peyton Manning. It's like I like you
And
guys.
Von Miller.
And, yeah, well, they've always had Von. I never was too fond of him, but the whole Manning and DeMarcus Ware coming over, it's like you don't like to see Hall of Fame caliber players go to division rivals. That's never fun.
Scary situations, for sure.
Yeah, one big thing he still holds for the Cowboys. Think about all the amazing Cowboys players that have went through that organization throughout the years. He still holds the record for the most sacks with 117 all time for the Cowboys.
My goodness. And that was definitely one of those guys I was happy he got a ring before he retired, because
Yes, I guess.
he was with those media. I'm sad it was with the Broncos, but he was on those mediocre, not mediocre, because those Dallas teams were regular season performers, but they never got anything done in the playoffs.
Well, that's Dallas. That's always Dallas. So
yeah,
that's still Dallas. So
yeah, recently, but yeah, that's one guy I was definitely happy to see make it. And another one that I got to watch a lot. I mean, they didn't get their games aired because they haven't been good at all during his career. Joe Thomas, believe he made the Pro Bowl every year he was in the league, besides the year that he got injured, which was his final year. Hadn't missed a game until he got hurt in his whole career. And
when did he retire? Like 4 years ago?
he retired. His last season was 2017. He was with the Cleveland Browns from 2007 to 2017. So he spent all 11 seasons with one team, which I will say, extremely rare anymore. So I love to see that out of a guy. When you get drafted to a city like he did, 3rd overall back in 2007, to stick there for all 11 seasons and be that kind of a caliber player, especially on a team like the Browns, where there was pretty much no success there his whole career, very minimal, if any.
I don't know if
he could have left.
Was any.
He could have wanted to go to somewhere else, and that's why I just respect the heck out of Joe Thomas for sticking it through with a rough team and being the hero on the Browns.
I think they called him Iron Man whenever he was there because he, like I said, he had never missed a game until he, I think he broke his elbow, tore something in his elbow, and yeah, it's a real shame that he never made the playoffs at all because he was such a fun offensive lineman to watch, and you don't really get those.
Yeah, I mean, being an offensive lineman growing up, he was definitely one of my top players in the NFL, and I mean, it's Joe Thomas, probably the best tackle of my whole lifetime. I mean, you could put maybe Trent Williams as getting into that conversation, but for me, still Joe Thomas, best tackle of my lifetime.
Yeah, yep. Who do you guys think was the biggest snub this year?
I mean, if we're talking one guy, he was snubbed last year. He was snubbed this year for me. I got to go Devin Hester, and it's simply because I feel like to be in a Hall of Fame, you have to be one of the best players all time at your respected position. And punt returner and kick returner are a position, and he was the best to ever do it.
Yeah. Who were some of the snubs that didn't make it?
Okay, so the other finalists were Jared Allen, Willie Anderson, Dwight Freeney, Devin Hester, Torrey Holt, Andre Johnson, Albert Lewis, Reggie Wayne, Patrick Willis, and Darren Woodson.
I would definitely
It's a lot of
say
good players.
Patrick Willis, Reggie Wayne. I think they deserve it more than Devin Hester.
Of course, as a Chiefs fan, I want Jared Allen to make the Hall of Fame, and I think he might be. I want to say he will eventually, but I just don't know when.
Jared Allen was my big one.
Yeah, I could see him being this kind of. He feels a lot like me, like DeMarcus Ware from last year. Like I think he might get in next year.
He fell into the category of. I thought he was going to be a first ballot whenever he was first eligible. He retired in 2015, so he was actually eligible 2 years ago.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought he was going to be a first ballot for sure.
And he just keeps getting passed over.
Has 136 sacks in his career, including that 22-sack season with Minnesota in 2011. Was a full sack away from breaking Michael Strahan's record at the time. But yeah, had 32 forced fumbles in his career. One he returned for a touchdown and a pick six. Only 6 interceptions, but he's also a DN, so he's not going to get those. But yeah, Jared Allen was super entertaining whenever he was younger. His iconic whatever he did. I don't remember what he did. He had some weird
sledgehammer thing or something like that.
the sledgehammer celebration.
No, Jared Allen was a bad man. And I feel like I said, Devin Hester was probably my biggest snub. Jared Allen, also up there. Patrick Willis, like you said, also up there. All those guys very deserving of it. I think the one thing on Patrick Willis, I don't think he had the longest career. I think that's one thing they look at a lot is longevity.
Yeah.
So
Kevin Johnson made it.
Yeah, true.
First ballot. He's also an absolute monster. But, yeah. What is that? 2004 eligibility? No. We are going to move on now. It's been a little bit of time since this happened, but the NBA trade deadline. Pretty wild one. A lot of three-team trades, a couple big trades. We talked about the Kyrie trade last show, so we're not going to talk about that this time. Kevin Durant was traded. Pretty
Shocking.
rare you see a top 5 player traded at the deadline.
True.
It was Kevin Durant and T.J. Warren were sent to the Phoenix Suns in exchange for Cameron Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, and 5 firsts from the Phoenix Suns, and one of those is a pick swap. And then they proceeded to flip Jay Crowder for 2 second-round picks to Milwaukee. Who was your winner in this trade, Michael?
I honestly think every team won in an aspect, but for the real winner, you'll have to wait till after the year to see if the Suns win the finals, because obviously that's what they're going for. Now with Chris Paul ending his career shortly, probably, and then you got Booker, Ayton, Kevin Durant, so you can't keep all 3 of those guys on a team together, so they're winning probably this year. And then the Nets, I still think are play-in potential with the roster they have. They got 5 firsts. Mikal Bridges can run the offense. Cam Thomas is playing really good. Cam Johnson's a good shooter. You still have Nick Claxton and Ben Simmons. So I think they're going to be all right. And then for the Bucks just get Jay Crowder to help complement, kind of 3-and-D around Giannis. So I honestly think all teams got better.
Do you think the Nets got better?
I think long-term they got better because they weren't – I don't think anything was going to happen with them, especially after losing Kyrie.
Yeah.
So just kind of say we're going to burn it, what we had.
Yeah, and then, with those 5 first-round picks, you get the potential of Chris Paul retiring after this season or in the near future. Kevin Durant may not stay with Phoenix after his contract's up. So those 5 first-round picks, they might become top 10 picks.
Yeah,
true. And it's a risky move for Phoenix, but a highly necessary move in my eyes.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be like the Rams of the NFL.
I was literally about to say, this reminds me of the Rams, stacking up on guys, a lot of veterans. You're either going to go win it this year, but the next couple of years, you could look pretty rough there for a little while if they don't get it done this year.
Yeah, for sure. But I agree with you. I think Brooklyn might potentially be in a better situation than Phoenix, even now, because you look at the West, it's wide open. You have Denver at the top of the conference, which I have no idea if Denver's legit or not. I haven't seen enough of their games. You have Memphis, who is young. You have Sacramento, who might be good, maybe not. This could be a fluke. Then you have Phoenix at the 4, the Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George. Then you have and the Clippers also made a couple moves that were pretty big. Then you have Dallas with Luka and Kyrie. You still have the Warriors if Steph gets healthy and that team is able to get back together. The West is so wide open right now, and I don't know if this is the right move for Phoenix, but I think it's the necessary move for Phoenix.
Yeah, because even the Lakers made some additions. I think the Lakers they're in 13th right now, but I think they're going to jump back in the play-in eventually. But I think any team on any given day, if this was a best-of-7 series, I think any team could beat any team in the West, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas beat Phoenix last year, and Phoenix had a far better record than them. But it's Luka. You never count out Luka.
But the thing is the fact that the Suns just kept Ayton is the real, the deal breaker for me in the West, because Ayton performs very well in the playoffs, and if they can keep their whole team healthy going in there, that is a team that is just going to be very hard to stop, especially for the Nuggets, who I don't think can really match up with that kind of power that the Suns will bring.
Yeah. And that's what's surprising to me is that they were able to keep Ayton in that deal. I was expecting a package of Bridges, Cam Johnson, Ayton, and multiple firsts, which was close, except they included Jay Crowder instead of Ayton. But I think that's why they got T.J. Warren back, and T.J. Warren could be that wing depth they need off the bench that they don't have right now. And the thing that scares me about Phoenix is their defense, even like their backups, their starters, they have no star defender anymore now that you got rid of Bridges.
Yeah, I mean, I love Mikal. I was a avid Suns watcher for like 6 years, and Mikal really, his whole story. I'm not going to say his story, but he was drafted by the Sixers, and then they didn't want him, so then he came here like on draft night, and he's just been getting so much better every year. He's kind of one of those players where I think he could be a potential star that the Suns gave up.
Like a Kawhi type player?
He won't ever reach the scoring ability of Kawhi, but I think defensively he can definitely get there. But
yeah, and he was I remember for a long time last year he was in for Defensive Player of the Year running.
yeah, I think he got some votes for it too. But that's why I kind of liked what the Nets did is obviously, the two stars wanted out, and they made the most out of giving them up.
Yeah, you get younger, and yeah, it's just an all-around good move for both teams. But for this year, I'm going to say Phoenix won it. For the far future, you don't know, but I'm going to say Brooklyn based off the first-round picks. Cam Johnson's young, Mikal Bridges is young, and yeah, yep. And you mentioned the Lakers earlier. They also made a massive deal. A lot of players involved. So D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt were headed to the Lakers. Russell Westbrook, a protected first-round pick, 1 through 4 from the Lakers. Juan Toscano Anderson and Damian Jones were shipped to Utah. And Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and 3 second-round picks were shipped to Minnesota. Who's your big winner in this one? Either one of you.
I'd say the Lakers. I think who'd the Lakers get again? All three?
Russell, Beasley, D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt, and they got rid of Russell Westbrook. Their first-round pick, Juan Toscano Anderson, Damian Jones, and 3 seconds.
I agree. I think the Lakers won this trade. I mean, they're giving up picks, but when you have LeBron James, you don't know how long he's going to be around. So I always feel like get players and go after it every year. So
yeah, I was going to say is the Lakers are such a big market is that they can always quickly rebuild faster than small market teams. So they're kind of, going all in for these last couple LeBron years. And I think that's what's so good is they got the depth they needed. You get D'Angelo Russell because you don't really know how many games Anthony Davis or LeBron will play because they're out a lot of games now.
yeah,
So they're trying all they can. So you got to respect their front office.
Personally, my winner in this one is Utah. For the lone fact that they got the first, like I said, we don't know how the Lakers are going to be in the future. Same reason for the Nets. They got Russell Westbrook, which they might cut. It doesn't really matter if they cut him or not. They have enough salary cap for the future because they're a super young team. And then Juan Toscano Anderson and Damian Jones are just salary dumps by the Lakers. But and here's why I don't like the trade for the Lakers. I think they're nowhere near contention right now. They had a lot more holes to fix than just shooting. AD's never healthy. Personally, I would have tried to flip AD at the deadline, but that's just me.
so you would have hit the rebuild button instead
I
of
would
reload.
have, yes. But a LeBron team is not going to rebuild.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
I don't think they can. I think they just had to show, kind of like an attack, kind of, and not sitting passive. Like, people were mad at the Kings because the Kings, third in the West, didn't make a move. So, they really don't seem like they want to win that much right now. And if you're not trying to win with LeBron,
pointless.
Yeah.
I like you said, I feel like they did this trade, and I think I'll make them the winners just because they got players, and I feel like you have to try with LeBron. And I feel like it was I don't think there was really a huge loser in this. I think it was not horribly skewed either way. I think it's kind of close, whoever you say wins the trade. But like you said, I mean, the Lakers are 26-32. They're 13th in the Western Conference. What they do all this, and they missed the playoffs. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. I mean, like you said, AD cannot stay healthy. LeBron James also not out there a whole ton of. Probably I'd say, but
He's taking that load management role
Yeah.
because he's 38, 39 years old. What is he?
he's
now,
got an
38?
injury though right now, doesn't he?
It's his foot.
Yeah,
right when he
he's got a
got
foot injury.
right when he beat the record.
That's
he
what I
sat
thought.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I remember he broke the scoring record and then wasn't there literally the next game, and I was like, what happened?
Yeah. And he's been taking a lot of load management, which is fine. Like I said, he's 38 years old. But I just don't think this move. It could get them to the playing game. I'm not saying that, but that doesn't really do anything for LeBron at this point in his career. He needs a lot more help than he used to need at this point in time. They got a lot deeper, for sure. But in the future, I don't know. It just concerns me for the Lakers. They don't have any of their picks.
I'm just curious, alternate universe here, because they were trying to get him. If the Lakers would have gotten Kyrie, how much does that change it for him if that would have happened?
I don't know what they would have had to given up, though.
True.
That's the thing.
The Lakers just have nothing to give up. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
That's what I was going to say. Is Brooklyn was not going to take Russell Westbrook because they were in the situation where they either needed to rebuild or stay young and competitive. They were not going to take a 34-year-old Russell Westbrook with a $45 million salary.
Has he played a game yet for the Jazz?
Good question. I have no idea, honestly. He said he was willing to give it a shot, which kind of surprised me. I figured he'd want to go to a contender.
I mean, the Jazz are in a better spot than the Lakers, so
Technically,
I'm gonna
yeah.
go with no. I'm just looking up. I don't think. No.
I don't think he has either, honestly. Which that's a potential buyout candidate, but they might have done it already if he was going to get bought out. But if he gets bought out, like I said, the Clippers made a couple moves at the deadline. They traded away both their point guards, and Reggie Jackson and who was their backup? I can't think who their backup was. Right? Oh, John Wall. That's right. Traded both of them away, and they traded for Bones Highland from Denver. Is he a potential landing spot for the Clippers if he gets bought out by the Jazz?
I'm just gonna go with no still because I think that Paul George and Westbrook chemistry, you don't want that. So
Yeah.
I think whatever momentum the Clippers even have, I think that you don't want to mess with the locker room.
And to me, the big problem for the Clippers right now is spacing, and I would not want to add Russell Westbrook for a spacing a problem on my team. Because right now their starting five is Terrence Mann, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, who is basically your only guy that is real efficient from deep, and Zubac. And Kawhi's, I think he shot decent from three this year. He had that rough start as he was returning from his ACL injury. But, Kawhi's actually shooting 39%, so shooting well. Maybe Paul George has actually ramped his up too. So, heck, maybe Russell Westbrook might be a decent addition for the Clippers, just a spark guy off the bench. But I don't think he'll be a starter.
the Clippers just need something to get them past these other teams because they're kind of a middle of the pack in the West always.
Yeah, that's so weird because I thought that Paul George and Kawhi dynamic was going to be so unstoppable because they can both create their own shot and they're both, at the time, I'm not too sure about now, we're top-tier defenders in the league. Kawhi had two depoys. Paul George was in the running for one at one point in time. And it just seemed like that team was going to be unstoppable in the West. And really, they've done nothing except make it to the second round. No, they made it to the conference finals because that's when Kawhi tore his ACL. That's right.
Well, they played against the Suns in the conference finals.
Yeah. And he tore his ACL against the Jazz.
Yeah.
So we've never – it just sucks because we've never seen that Clippers team at their full potential in the playoffs. And the one time we did, it was in the bubble which nobody had home court advantage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a real letdown. So back on this Russell Westbrook trade. Do you guys think Mike Conley does anything for Minnesota at all?
I don't know.
Because I like this move for the Timberwolves. Their main problem coming in was their defense was top tier with Rudy Gobert on the court, like almost dead last in offense when he's on the court, and it was vice versa when he was off the court. So I think Mike Conley will provide that defensive energy. He's not going to have a major offensive role with Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. So I like this new role for Mike Conley in this offense.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping, optimistic about the Timberwolves, but I've just not been impressed at all. And I'm looking at the stats. I mean, they lose D'Angelo Russell, who was their third leading scorer, with 18 points per game. So you're getting rid of him and getting Mike Conley, who I don't think can produce that amount of points. And Karl Anthony Towns has only played 20 games this year.
It's such a short sample size too, but the Timberwolves did beat the Mavericks on Monday. I didn't expect that. Mike Conley also had 9 assists, which, like you're saying, kind of the role he's going to play there, where he can find success. So
yeah,
that's interesting to see so far.
And I don't know. I think, like you said, D'Angelo Russell, what'd you say, 18 points a game?
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're going to ask Anthony Edwards to take that role, which is a big role to fill. I'm not saying that, but Mike Conley is going to provide a lot more playmaking for Minnesota than what D'Angelo Russell was providing.
Agree.
So that's just my take on that. I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I just think the Timberwolves needed perimeter defense, and I personally love this move for them. At first, when I first saw this trade, I had Minnesota as my winners, but for today, but in the future, I like Utah as the winners in this trade. Yeah, Conley had 12 points with 9 assists, 3 boards, 1 steal, and I don't think Conley turns the ball over as much as D'Angelo Russell too. So that's just why I like Minnesota as part of this. And then I'd go Lakers as my last choice in this deal as winners for the future and now. But sticking on the Lakers, LeBron James, a little bit old news as he did it last week. Again, we're late on our show, but LeBron James did break the scoring record finally. How does this?
Interesting you put a finally on that.
I know, finally. How does this affect his GOAT argument against
I think
Michael
it just
Jordan?
absolutely solidifies him as the second best player of all time. I don't think it changed much in my eyes.
I think Jordan's the best, I think Jordan's the greatest, and I think LeBron's the best. That's how I kind of view it, where LeBron,
I think that's a good way to put
I think,
it.
is the most gifted athlete I've ever seen. But, it's the accolades. It's super impressive that he beat the scoring record, but when we're going to compare them two, it's how many more seasons did he play, how many more games did he play,
Exactly.
So it's kind of hard to match it up like that. So, really, you got to go off championships, and LeBron's lost a lot. But I said if LeBron ever got 6 rings, I would call him the GOAT. That's where I'm at.
I'm in the boat where I do think Jordan's won. But I think if LeBron were to win another ring, which is going to be hard because he's getting up there in age and his roster situation isn't the greatest. But I believe that if LeBron wins another ring, I think it's 1A, 1B. And I don't think it's 1-2 anymore. LeBron's been to 11 finals. LeBron has 4 MVPs. LeBron has 4 finals MVPs. I mean, Jordan has 6, sure. But if LeBron were to win another ring, he would have the scoring over Jordan. He'd have the rebounds over Jordan. Per game numbers, too. Not scoring per game. Jordan has them there. But rebounds per game, assists per game, steals per game, It's just blocks per game. It's all that stuff, and it's just hard to say that it's not close.
It's
In some people's eyes.
It's the thing is, these are one of like the things I really hate to debate, is because every person who debates it's going to come with their kind of opinion on the matter, and it's just LeBron. You can't compare stats because LeBron's just played so much. The game's different, whole different style of basketball. But I do agree with you. I think if he really can get a ring with this Lakers team, and because they're at the bottom now at All-Star break, if they can get up, win a ring this year, I mean, I think 1A, 1B, I agree.
Yeah, and it's going to take a lot of work with this team, but I was talking more like...
Oh, I know. Like
the future. Yeah, the future in general. Yeah, just...
For me, it's just hard
anytime
for LeBron because you can't change how many times he's lost in the finals. And that's the thing for me about Jordan. When you talk about like the best athlete and player compared to most accomplished, I mean, 6-0 in the finals is extremely impressive. Never losing a finals is extremely impressive.
It's just...
That's just
the argument that I don't like, because you had that loaded Warriors team, and the two teams that he lost to, and it's just tough for me to...
For me, I always go back to the game against the Mavs where LeBron on the Heat and on the stacked team just disappeared.
Yes, that is the one that hurt his legacy the most, is that one finals appearance.
I mean, him making the final, how many years in a row did he make the finals?
From 2000... He had the 4 years with the Heat, 8 straight years. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have the utmost respect, and you made it that many years, but
Yeah.
I can't give you a pass for losing however many times. I know he played the Warriors, and the Warriors made a super team, but it just comes down to it. That's how you got to get nitpicky at the end when you're really comparing people.
Yeah. I mean, they're close. And you get that scoring record, it makes him closer. And if he can get 6 rings, then I will call him the GOAT. That's where I'll put it.
But are you gonna keep talking about LeBron, or are you about to change the subject?
I don't have any other input on it.
I was about to add something to the scoring title. I was gonna say, do you think in 15 years that every player on the scoring top 10 is somebody we've seen play?
That's a great question.
Because Carmelo
really deep
Anthony's
question.
already in the top 10. We've seen him play.
It's going to be hard to surpass.
on that?
Oh, he's not very high. He's a lot of injuries in his career.
But I think Luka Doncic is on pace to kind of kill some of the people below him.
And scoring's so easy to come by now, because you can't, defense is almost non-existent in today's NBA. It's not the player's fault, it's the rules. Pacing is up. There's just so many factors that come into that. The only problem is that I believe Kareem and Karl Malone are just so far ahead on the scoring list. I don't think it'll be all players we watched, but I do think it'll be majority players that we have watched.
Yeah, I agree with that. That definitely makes some sense.
Because like you said, Luka, in his career, I think he's averaging around 27 points a game, which is absolutely absurd. He's a heck of a talent. And it's going to come down to longevity, too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of scoring is done by guards, and I don't know how long a play style like Trae Young or someone as aggressive as Trae Young can hold up.
Yeah, so listen, I'm trying to find Luka's points per game, how many he has right now. Cause that'd be
career-wise?
Yeah, that'd be a good, because he's only played 5 seasons. Or he's in his 5th season.
In his career, he is averaging 27.4 with 8.6 rebounds and 8 assists a game.
I'm not doing the math on that.
Okay, let me just do it real quick.
He's at 8,000, pretty much 8,600 already.
Okay.
4.5 seasons.
And LeBron's end up with
40K.
Yeah, 39, 40K.
But to be at 8.6 in 4 seasons is ridiculous. That's why I'm saying these kind of newer
generation players
who can just light it up.
I mean, you got to think Giannis is going to be up there. There's going to be...
I think Steph, maybe. I'm going to look at Steph's numbers.
I don't think Steph has as many just because
What about KD?
Oh yeah,
I don't even know where KD's at on the list.
Steph's at 21,000 right now.
He's 32. I don't-
Yeah,
I don't think that's
so.
happening.
No, I don't think that's
I'm
happening
gonna
either.
go look at 10. Who's 10?
And
10's Moses Malone with 27,000.
Find KD on
Oh, it's definitely doable then.
Yeah, because I think you can get like 3,000 points in a season. I mean, he
Wait, how many
could-
did Moses Malone have?
27.
So he's only
He's about like
6K behind him.
if he could play
Maybe.
4 more years easily.
just got to stay healthy.
KD's at 26,684.
Oh, yeah, KD's definitely
Kevin
gonna get in
Durant's
there.
about to be- yeah, he's 14 right now.
Yeah, he's going to get in there.
Oh yeah, I could just look at the people that are still playing. If anybody is, James Harden, Westbrook are close.
Where's Harden at?
24,000.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see Harden get in there.
Chris Paul, I don't think will get in there.
No, Chris Paul's not a scorer.
Yeah.
He's my boy, but he's not a scorer.
And Harden's not quite the scorer he used to be. He's putting up more points in good night Philadelphia than he was in Brooklyn, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, he has a different role.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually been playing really well lately.
Yeah.
Um,
Takes me back to my All-Star snubs.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of, the replacements were announced. De'Aaron Fox made it in. Siakam, my boy,
Anthony Edwards.
and Anthony Edwards made it in.
I just looked at Giannis's all-time points. How many years has he played?
He won the ring in his 7th season, so it's going to be like his 9th or 10th.
So he's only 28 years old, and he's at 16,000 pretty much. So
Yeah, he'll definitely get there.
It's yeah, like you said, it's this new generation of players and the way officiating is done now that I think it's almost impossible for it not to happen.
I think any scoring record is bound to be broken. I even think Wilt's 100-point game is bound to be broken at some point.
I have a hard time seeing that one being broken, even though we've had Devin Booker's 70-point game and Donovan Mitchell's 71-point game.
And that's still almost 30 points away from 100. So, yeah, I agree. I don't think that one's going to be broken.
It's a possibility.
It's a
I think
possibility.
anything's possible. I would just say it's slim.
That's what I was saying
Anything
with
is possible.
the way of scoring now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, pace of play. Well, pace of play was actually, I believe it was actually faster back then because they just.
Well, I think the average points per games back in like the 90s and was like around. It wasn't even 100 points per game, and now you have teams like the Kings who score 130 points per game now. So you're adding on.
It's just absurd.
You're adding like 40 extra points on per game is insane.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes from bench productivity too.
Yeah.
So we are coming to the end of our show here. We want to thank you guys for tuning in, and if you guys have anything else to add before we sign off,
Nope.
no go Chiefs or no.
Hey,
Go-
time for the offseason. Hey, draft in Kansas City. That's pretty exciting,
That's
too.
right.
Looking forward to
I'm
that.
hoping I get to go to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't cost. I'm not going to say it, but you know.
You can't say that. Yeah, we're going to sign off here. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will be on next Monday at 9 o'clock. This has been the first quarter.